Greetings one and all. Welcome back. We ain't gonna sing it. We don't have time. We're on Super Wednesdays here in the Holy Apple, Holy Land. We are on the 20th day of the second Adar 5779. Of course, this class, nothing has changed from 2 weeks ago. Class, the intention, of course, is to remove the divine presence from the exile and to bring ourselves closer to God, to Hashem, and to the Torah and the commandments. Okay, but besides for that, this is a very special, the way it worked out, it really worked out big time for me today. Today, the 20th, is the Memorial Day for my not great-grandmother, she's great, but she was my great-grandmother. My grandmother, Miriam Leah Bat Hindi. In English, she was known as Mary Gordon, and today's the day that she passed away. And years later, on this day also, it's a joyous time for the Richter family. The birthday today of my eldest daughter, Taleo Daya Esther. It's a mouthful of 3 names over there, so not easy, I know. But anyways, so this class, besides for number 1 being in the honor of God, number 2, it should be an elevation for the soul of my dear, 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 sweet grandmother. She was a tough cookie, and also a merit for my daughter. She should live to greet coming of the Messiah with all of us. Okay, today, put on a couple of seatbelts, whoever is here. Folks, and I tell ourselves again, tell all of us, get the message out, get the words out. It's very, very important in our days. The whole idea of the class is to take issues that are on the table, that are being discussed, things that are very connected to our lives, and to receive the proper Jewish outlook, the Torah outlook, like it should be. So, today we're going to hit on, with God's help, we're going to hit on many, many Jewish foundations and principles in our understanding of the entire Torah picture. Okay, first of all, get HT, for those of you that are not familiar with this language. HT means a hat tip, goes to Tomer Dvora, who is always kind enough. She always gets these classes up on her website, and who knows, it's kind of frightening for someone to come close to her because of the fact that all of the brownie points, all of the merit that she has in getting these words out, hopefully encouraging us listeners, bringing us closer to God, strengthening our Torah and mitzvah and commandment. So she gets a HT. She sent me this following piece of news item. It appeared March 21st, so it's pretty much hot out of the oven. March 21st. It appeared in some website called Breaking Israel News. Okay, Breaking Israel News. Here's what it says. Although Purim is not one of the biblical feasts, David Neck Rutman, hope I'm getting that right, the executive director for the Center for Jewish Christian Understanding and Cooperation. Man, this is like, this is like a mouthful. Can you imagine that that's the title of, today people like to keep things reader-friendly. This definitely ain't reader-friendly. Even the acronym is not reader-friendly. It's called CJCUC. I mean, I would actually like to see you later. So I would like to see this organization later. But anyways, Center for Jewish and Christian Understanding and Cooperation. Yeah? And the title of the article, Purim, the Christian Zionist Holiday. Whoa, yeah. Christian Zionist holiday. cooperation, understanding. Necrotmin maintains that the presence of the book of Esther in the Christian canon, for those of you that think a canon is something that they used to have wars with, you know those cannons, they used to put these gigantic, these balls inside of them? No, canon means that it was accepted by the Pope and the Church as one of the holy scriptures. Yeah, the book of Esther was accepted by the Christian Church as one of their canons, is divinely guided, intended to preserve the message that God wants non-Jews to stand with the Jews against anti-Semitism. Okay, the message so far, message of Purim, is that we see the non-Jews standing side by side and fighting for the Jewish people against anti-Semitism. Okay, Necrotmin cited a verse from the book of Esther to illustrate his point. A verse that describes how the non-Jewish Persians took up arms alongside the Jews in the battle against the forces of Haman. This is really amazing. You know, I mean, don't you remember them on the battlefield? All those non-Jewish Persians that came to save the Jews. Coming to the rescue today. Yes. Okay. Next, we go on here. Very interesting. Necrotmin explained that the decision to join the Jews in their battle against the Jew haters was a declaration of faith. Right? All these soldiers, all these partisans that came to join the Jewish people in the fight against anti-Semitism, the anti-Semitism of Haman. Of course, joining in the fight with, of course, our dear king Ahasherosh and Haman and others. In the end of the chapter 8, just before the battle, there are Persians that realize that God's plan is unfolding in history, meaning the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He argued, these are total heathens, idolaters, who have attached themselves to the nation of Israel and stood alongside the Jews. In their fight against anti-Semitism, the Jews were not alone. Okay? This is amazing, amazing stuff here. These pagans, these idolaters, these heathens, they're joining the fight against anti-Semitism. They are teaching us that the Jewish people are not alone. These are non-Jews that they got the message. They're on such a high level. You know, when the Purim story unfolds, you know, they understand, they put the pieces together, they come to the correct conclusions. Yeah, really high level. Interesting. Also, all these points, of course, we'll get to in our class, how ridiculous they are. And then we go on. Christian Zionists, our dear friends, are identifying with the Jewish people and taking up the cause to battle anti-Semitism. Have no fear, Christian Zionists are here. Woohoo! Yeah. Would it not be a good idea, this is David Necrotmin, would it not be a good idea for Christian brothers and sisters, right? Now there are brothers and sisters here, yeah, to read Esther, to read the scriptures of Esther on Purim with the Jewish people, remarked Necrotmin. If Christians, let's all get together. Well, this is amazing over here. Kind of reminds me of the Purim story, the Purim party where the Jews came to the party to celebrate. Remember in the beginning of the story of Esther, when they came to join the party of King Ahasherosh, that bash that he was throwing in his third year of reign. And we know the results of that one. So let's do it again, one more time. If Christian Zionism is using the verse from Esther for standing with Israel, it would be entirely proper for Christians to read this book on Purim. We'll start a new religion here. We will have, there'll be the first prayers will be at 7 o'clock, for those early birds. And then we'll have a reading at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock for, the schlepper of the Christian Zionists. The Hasidic Christian Zionists, they'll come 11 or 12 o'clock to read, the book of Esther. We'll just create a new religion over here. It's a little bit of a problem when you read the laws of Maimonides. Talks about not inventing new religions. We'll leave that aside. On the day that the Jews read the story of Esther, the book of Esther is more relevant today than ever. Jews are dealing with our identity as a faith and as a nation. And just like the book of Esther, non-Jews are standing with us today. Okay,
Rabbi,
thank you.
Is there any source, do we have any sources that there were Gentiles helping us during the war?
No. We'll get to that. We'll get to that point. Okay, folks, put on a few seatbelts. This is very, very, very important ideas and principles. Who was Ahasherosh? Who was this king, Ahasherosh? Now, in English, sign up for not saying it in English, it's like a real funky kind of name. I don't know how to pronounce it. So we'll just call him the king in the time of the king of Persia in the time of Purim. His name is Ahasherosh. Who was he exactly? Was he a righteous person? Was he a bad guy? Was he one of these MOR types? MOR, by the way, is middle of the road. Who was he? Now, to understand who he was, we are going to need, now usually I don't ask our listeners to bring something to the class. I'm not usually asking, but today I will ask you. You will need 2 pairs of glasses for this class. So, maybe turn me off here, turn me off, and take a break, and look for 2 pairs of glasses, okay? Everyone has to have 2 pairs of glasses. Amazing. Listen to this. In Hebrew, we read the scriptures, it's called the Megillah. Megillah means revealed. But the Megillah is called the story of Esther, the book of Esther. Esther in Hebrew means hidden. This is a contradiction in terms, or is it? So we have the Megillah revealed. We have Esther hidden. Amazing. We have non-Jews and we have the Jews. 2 different paths. We have the oral law and we have the written law. Yeah, 2 different books. There are 2 stories that are happening in the book of Esther. 2 different stories. There are the story, there's one of the stories is the story for the non-Jewish world. And the other story for the Jewish people. That's why you need 2 glasses. Because if you come with 1 pair, you didn't get the story. There's 1 story for the Jews, and there's 1 story for the non-Jews. Why? Well, let me start with a story to understand. In 1917, there was a Russian Revolution. And if I'm not mistaken, around 1920, Joseph Stalin takes over in Russia. Communist revolution. And things become, hell breaks out for the Jewish people. During the 70 years of the Soviet Union, Jewish people lost their soul. It was against the law to learn Hebrew. It was against the law to do commandments, to learn Torah. And the Jewish people were assimilated. When Jews came from Russia, 70% of Jews that came from Russia to Israel are not Jews. They're connected to Jews, but they're not Jews. Amazing. 70 years of communism succeeded in destroying the Jewish soul. There was a family in Russia, and they had one family member who lived in Buffalo, New York. And they wanted to get the message out to this relative, how it's hell for them and the Jewish people in Russia, and to help. Do something. Demonstrate. But what can you do? All their letters are being read. They're being censored by Big Brother. The big bear, maybe it's a big bear over there. So what do? You can't say anything negative against the regime. You'll be killed. You'll be arrested. You'll be sent up to Siberia. So this great woman, she had to get this message out. So she came up with a great plan. There's going to be really 2 letters here. When you look at the letter with one pair of glasses, you see tremendous praise to the revolution and to Stalin and to all his government. But if you look with a different pair of glasses and you looked at the first letter of each line of the letter, it's spelled out there, they are destroying the Jewish soul here in Russia. Once again, 2 pairs of glasses, 2 letters. It's really 1 letter. The Russians, when they saw the letter, they saw that they were being praised. But when this representative of the family, this Jewish representative in Buffalo, New York, when he read that letter, he read the first letter of each line and he put it together, the puzzle, each piece. And he understood the message very clearly. 2 pairs of glasses. Dear friends, there are 3 reasons the Talmud brings down why we do not read, why we do not recite the Hallel, the praising of God ceremony on every holiday, even rabbinical holiday, like Hanukkah. We still recite the Psalms of David, which is called the Hallel, the Thanksgiving prayer. But not on Purim. There's 3 reasons. We're going to take right now 1 reason. 1 reason is that after all holidays, something has changed within the Jewish people. In the time of Hanukkah, the Jewish people now were once again independent. We once again took over our Holy Land. We once again ruled. During Passover, we were slaves, and now we are no longer slaves. There was a tremendous change. However, in the time of Purim, there was no change really. We were saved from the decree to be destroyed. However, the Talmud tells us, and history tells us, that the Jews were still slaves of Ahasherosh, of King Ahasherosh. Nothing really had changed. We were still subservient to the Persian government. So folks, when the Jewish people had to write the words of the book of Esther, they understood that if there was anything negative about the Persian king and the kingdom, that would be the end of the Jews. On the other hand, you have to tell the story. So that's why we needed this special, it's called Ruach Hakodesh. It's spiritually moved. It's a little bit less than prophecy. It's called Ruach Hakodesh, a special spirit that God sends, places upon human beings a little bit less than prophecy. And therefore it's an amazing thing. We have two sets of glasses. We have one set of glasses. When you look at the story of the Megillah, this guy, King Ahasherosh, he seems like not a bad guy at all. Maybe somebody that even saved the Jewish people. Or as we learned from this organization with 5 or 6 letters, even fought side by side with the Jewish people. But then when you put on your Jewish glasses, you see an entire different story. Like this fellow in Buffalo, New York. When he put on his glasses to read the letter from his relatives in Russia, he saw something else. And that is what we're about to see. So now, put on your Torah glasses here. And we're going to go for one heck of a ride here. Event number 1. It's not even seen. When you put on your nations of the world glasses, you do not see what I'm about to tell you. You have to put on those Jewish glasses. When we open up the book of Esther, we open up and we're in the 3rd year of the king's reign. And he throws a gigantic party. So beautiful, no parties. Not only is a party, we used to party for a couple of hours, man. This was a party for 6 months. And then to boot, after that, a week. Seems like a real, real great kind of guy. But that's with the nations of the world glasses. But the Torah glass is different. The beginning of our story, of the real story, is the 1st year of the King Ahasherosh's reign. This is written, this is sealed secretly in the Talmud and in the words of our sages. They tell us a totally different story. And the story is that when the King Ahasherosh took over, when he took over in the year 369 BCE, he immediately, the first act that he performed, first law that he passed, was to halt and stop the building of the Jewish temple that had been started, reconstructed. 2 years before that, the king of Persia, the former king of Persia who was assassinated, the great Koresh, Cyprus, he had given permission for the Jewish people in the provinces of Persia to return to the land of Israel, to rebuild the second temple. And this wicked fellow, this wicked king, no hero, named Ahasherosh, his first law that he passes is to stop the building of the temple. He stops it right away. That's the Jewish story of Esther. Hidden. It says in the beginning of the book of Esther, in the days of the king Ahasherosh, he is Ahasherosh. Now, this is really unusual, bizarre. This is redundant language. You already told me in the days of the king Ahasherosh. What does it mean he is Ahasherosh? I got it. It's enough to tell me in the days of the king of Ahasherosh, he threw a party for 6 months. What is this he is Ahasherosh? So, our sages tell us, look it up. Our sages tell us in the tractate of Megillah, page 11, side 1. You know why it says the word he is Ahasherosh? Because there are 10 places in the Torah that it uses the expression when talking about a person. It says the word he is. He is, and then it says like Abraham. There are 5 people that from beginning to end were great. And there are 5 people from beginning to the end are wicked. And lo and behold, One of them, from beginning to the end, is our dear king Ahasherosh. From beginning to the end, you got it. Wicked. Not only that, he throws a party. Who doesn't love parties? Everybody loves a party. This is a tremendous party. What could be better than that? But our sages tell us something else. And if you listen with Jewish ears to the story of the Megillah, you will hear that the reader will change tunes. When he talks about this party, he changes the tune. The tune, a very solemn tune, the tune of the fast of the 9th day of Av, when the first and second temples were destroyed by Babylonians and then later on by the Romans. We change it to a solemn, sad tune. What's going on? This is Purim. This is celebration. Why? Because the reason why the party was for 6 months, that's some hell of a party, was that every day the king of Persia, the dear king of Persia, took out another 6 items, vessels of the temple, and it took 180 days to go through the entire arsenal of vessels that they had stolen from our temple in Jerusalem. That's why it was 180 days. And the clothes that he was wearing, King Ahasherosh and the queen Vashti, they come out in the clothes of the high priest. And therefore we read this in the solemn, in the sad tune of the destruction of the temple. That's what's really going on in this party. But we're just starting out here with the punches. We threw the first one. An amazing statement. When you look, ask, do a survey. Go into a store, go into the marketplace and ask, who was the worst person? Who was worse? King Ahasherosh or Haman? You'll get probably 99.9% of people that will say, of course, Haman, he was the bad guy. He was the big anti-Semite. He was the big, Hitler. But not when you put on Jewish glasses, Torah glasses. When you put on our glasses, folks, it tells us in the book, in our sages, Esther Rabbah, chapter 7, paragraph 20. It said that Ahasherosh hated the Jews, King Ahasherosh hated the Jews more than Haman. And it even gives us a parable. It gives us a parable. In the tractate of Megillah, the end of page 13, side B, and the beginning of 14, side A, an amazing parable. The parable is the following. There's one person went on vacation, left his house, and then when he was gone, somebody came. He has a gigantic, he has a gigantic estate. I don't know if it's big as Neverland, but it's pretty big. And you don't want to go to Neverland, but it's pretty big. And somebody comes and dumps these high mounds of dirt in his estate, on his estate. I say that like, for baseball, if you have a little bit of a high mound, that's okay. But we're talking about really like Mount Everest types of mounds of dirt in his courtyard. And he's thinking to himself, oh my G, OMG, oh my God, how am I going to get rid of this? I mean, I got to find somebody, that needs dirt or to fill up some landholds. I got to find somebody. So he meets up with another person, and they're talking together, talking about different problems that they have. Sometimes people like that. They come together to talk about their problems. So the first guy, he says, listen, I was on vacation. Somebody came by and dumped these gigantic mounds of dirt on my estate, and I'm looking, I got to get rid of this. I got to get my estate back in shape here. The other guy said, I can't believe it. You know what? I was also on vacation for a couple of weeks. I came back, and somebody put these gigantic holes in my estate. Everywhere it's a danger to walk around. There's these 6-7 feet falling holes that we have. So he said, well, I can't believe we met each other. Listen, how much can I pay you to take my dirt and fill up your holes? So the guy looks at him. He says, pay me? You're doing me the biggest favor. Free. What is the parable here? Amazing thing. The king Ahasherosh wants to get rid of the Jews. He just needs the mafia guy, the bad guy, to come along and to do his dirty henchwork. And he's waiting, and all of a sudden, it's a match. He comes up to Haman, and and he says to the king, listen, I'll give you 10,000 pieces of silver. Folks, do we understand what the hell is 10,000 pieces of silver? We're talking about in our times, in our days, we're talking about there's a dispute amongst our sages how much a block is. So even if we go on a modest estimate, we're talking about in the year 205. I didn't have enough time to check it up to date, but in the year 205 I did check it. We're talking about $63.5 million. Okay, this is 14 years ago. 14 years ago. What are we going to say today? That's a very humble estimate. If we get into the higher opinion amongst our sages, we're talking about 12 or 13 billion dollars that he put on the table. Haman put on the table to give to King Ahasherosh in order to blow away the Jews. And what does the king say? Listen, you're doing me a favor. I've been waiting for you all these years. He's such a good guy, this king. Take it for free. He doesn't take any of the money. We're talking about billions of dollars here. The student of the rabbi, the path of the just, the Ramchal, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto, he gives another parable. I don't know, he doesn't bring down the source, so I'm just going to say that I saw it in his book, his commentary on the book of Esther, an amazing. He has a different, maybe he saw this in some place. He doesn't write the source, but he says an amazing thing, that when Haman comes up with the plan to kill the Jews, and he says, here, I'll give you money. He says, money? It's like taking out the garbage. Do you understand what we're talking about? Taking out garbage. That's how this beautiful person, this king, who fought alongside the Jewish people, that's how he looked at the Jews as pieces of garbage. You don't have to pay me. You're taking out my garbage. You do me a favor, babe. Okay. We're moving on in the story of Esther, but we have our Torah glasses on. Mordechai saves King Ahasherosh. There was an assassination attempt on his king's life by two guys named Bigtan and Teresh. And Mordechai comes to the rescue. He spoke 70 languages, so he caught what they were saying. And he told Esther, and Esther told the king. And these people, these two officials were hanged. Okay. It says an amazing line. In the book Yalkut Shimoni, 1053, that's the paragraph 1053, it says the following. If you look at the book of Esther, you'll see an amazing thing. Right after Mordechai and Esther save the king's life, the most bizarre, unusual, like, whoa, come on down, king. Come on down, back to the world. The wildest thing you ever see. Instead of rewarding Mordechai, he promotes, the king Ahasherosh promotes Haman. He gets this tremendously second in command position. Folks, I mean, like, let's clean out our ears here. What the hell is going on over here? Mordechai saves your life and you promote Haman? Second in command? Listen to the words of our sages. We're at, I told you where we are. Amazing thing. Our sages tells the following. King Ahasherosh said to himself, listen, Mordechai saved me and I know what he's going to ask. I know that he's going to ask for a certain reward. There's only one thing he has on his mind, Mordechai, and that is to give the green light to return and build the temple in Jerusalem. And there's no way over my dead body. It's never going to happen. It is never going to happen, the king Ahasherosh says. But on the other hand, it's not so, there's appreciation, a little bit of appreciation. Someone just saved your life. So he comes up with a great idea. King Ahasherosh, listen to this idea, folks. He says, I have a great idea. I will promote Haman. He will become second in command. Mordechai, I'll say, no problem, Mordechai. You could go and build the second temple. And, of course, Mordechai is going to go. And when he's leaving his house, those of you that remember, when the expulsion from Gush Katif in the Gaza area took place 11 years ago, they were arresting people on a bus in Jerusalem. You're 50 miles away from Gush Katif, but they were arresting people for being on a bus in Jerusalem because they suspected maybe they were going to protest or to that area. So King Ahasherosh knew that no problem. He'll give the green light to Mordechai to go build, and the second that Mordechai steps out of his house, he's going to be arrested. Or the second they start putting up one brick, they're going to call the IDF, the PDF, the Persian Defense League. They're going to call the Persian Defense League PDL or Force PDF, and they will destroy. So he has it made in the shade. He comes out looking like a good guy. On the other hand, it's never going to happen. Now this, let me tell you folks, this King Ahasherosh, in my humble eyes, he gets a big, like for what he did. Because he is smarter than most Jews. Why is that? Because King Ahasherosh understands this concept, this principle in life. And if you get this concept, okay, it will help you in life to succeed or to fail. And he understands this concept. What's the concept? He understands that the building of the temple represents the kingdom of God. And therefore he understands that when Isaac blessed Esav, after Jacob had taken all the blessings, at first Isaac says, I have no blessing for you. I gave them all to Jacob. But then he does give him one blessing. He gives him one blessing. He tells him, listen, all the blessings of Jacob are dependent on whether Jacob is doing the will of God. If Jacob and the people of Israel, the nation of Israel, they are learning the Torah and observing the commandments, then the Jewish people will be on top and the nations of the world below. However, Isaac tells Esav, if the Jewish people slack off in Torah, learning Torah and Torah commandments, then you have permission, you will rule, and they will be subservient. They will be on the bottom. In this world of ours, there is no even Steven scales. It's either the Jewish people on top, or it's the nations of the world. There are so many religious Jews that are running around. What do they call that hat? MAG, the MAG hat, yeah? Make America Great, the MAG hat. They're walking around. Folks, you're idiots. You don't understand what King Ahasherosh got. He understood that if the temple goes up, he goes down. He will have no kingdom left. But if he is up, the temple will never be built. He understands that. What religious Jews today walking around in that hat, if you want to make America great, you are making Israel on the bottom pedestal. That is why our class today is called Purim to Passover, Hangover to sobering up. Purim to Passover, Hangover to sobering up. And after Purim, folks, it's about time we Jews sobered up. Doesn't stop here. Every time Queen Esther comes to ask a favor from the king Ahasherosh, he always says, Esther, I will give you up until half of the kingdom. What does that mean? Depends which glasses you have. If you have glasses of the nations, it means I'll give you a lot. But if you put on your Jewish Torah glasses, it means something else. Our sages tell us, he uses expression specifically. There's a tremendous amount behind it. It means that you can have everything, not most, not 70%, not 80%. You can have everything, Esther, except for one thing. You cannot build a temple. If you build the temple, if I give an A-OK, I'm on the bottom, and the Jews are on the top. They rule. That's not going to happen. So, from the first day that King Ahasherosh begins his reign as ruler of Persia, his first law that's passed to stop the building of the temple, the party, his words to Esther, his actions, everything surrounds over my dead body. That temple will not be rebuilt. Okay, one night, Ahasherosh goes to sleep, and, it's been a hard day's night, and he's been working like a dog, and he's having a really tough night, and he can't fall asleep. And we know that he remembers that he never paid back Mordechai for saving his life from the two evil officers, Bigtan and Teresh. He seems like such a great guy now, right? It's payback time. It's an amazing thing. How many people do we owe? We owe money, or we owe a favor, and we don't even remember. Here, the king, he remembers. After so many years, he remembers. Good guy, put on your Torah glasses. In the tractate of Megillah, page 16, side A, says the following. Why was the king unable to sleep? You know why? Because he kept on having these thoughts that he was certain that Queen Esther and Haman were out to assassinate him. He was certain of that. And therefore, he was thinking to himself, I wonder why, if there's, I'm sure, 100% sure, that the queen and Haman are planning, right? They're having this party, and Esther is inviting me and Haman to the party. They're in on it together. Esther and Haman, they're in it. They're going to kill me. They're going to assassinate me. Why is it that no one, the Secret Service, friends, family, people that want to make money, people that think on you, where is everybody? Why isn't anybody coming with information? Where's the police? Where's the FBI? Where's the Secret Service? Why isn't anybody coming up with this information telling me, beware of Esther and Haman? They're out to assassinate you. It must be that they're afraid that if they come forth and spill the beans, that I will not reward them. That reminds me. Why is that? Because they remember that I never rewarded Mordechai. So he puts one and one together. That's why that's why the Secret Service has not notified me with this important information to try to save my life. Because people saw that somebody that does save my life, nothing was given to them, there was no reward. So why would they endanger themselves? Why would they come up if they're not going to be rewarded? Anyways, I better make sure that I reward Mordechai. Such a nice guy, yeah. We're now at the scene of the party. Put on those Torah glasses. And you could feel the momentum. If we had some music in the background here, you could have the dum da da dum da da dum dum dum. Dum da da dum da da dum dum dum. You could feel it. And then Esther stands up, and the king says, "Who is this wicked person? Who is this wicked person that wants to destroy the Jewish people?" Dum da da dum da dum da dum dum da da dum da dum dum. And Esther stands up, and she says, the man is, this wicked person is, and she sends her finger. And the Talmud tells us an amazing piece of information, but only for those that wear the Torah Jewish glasses. In Tractate Megillah 16, side 1, the previous about the king not being able to sleep, that was on the Tractate of Megillah 15, side B. Sorry for that mistake. Okay, so she comes up and she's about to point her finger at this wicked person who wants to destroy the Jewish people. And our sages tell us this tremendous thing. She was about to send her finger pointing to who? You got it. Ahasherosh. You, King Ahasherosh, you are the wicked, not Haman. The Tractate of the Megillah tells us, Tractate Megillah tells us that an angel had to hit her finger so it would point in the direction of Haman, Haman. Amazing thing. Folks, you hear it. This nice guy, party, saved the Jewish people, perhaps even fought with the Jewish people hand in hand. She's pointing to this evil, wicked soul. You, Ahasherosh. And an angel comes so she doesn't get killed and saves the day. Okay, now it's time to hang Haman. Wow, this is such a great thing that the king is doing. Even in Israel, they don't take terrorists and they don't give them the death penalty. This is like really large of the king. Such a great fellow. They don't even do this in Israel to terrorists. They in good cases, they'll bulldoze the house down, and then a day or two later, it will be rebuilt. Started to be rebuilt, like it's happened a few days ago by the terrorist who killed two great Jews about 8 minutes away from here in Ariel. So This is a great act on his part. You know, here's the anti-Semite Haman, and we are going to make sure that no one ever, you know, touches the Jewish people or threatens the Jewish people. This guy is serious. We could use him as a, you know, is he serious or not? So, once again, put on those glasses, Torah glasses. We have in a commentary called Targum Sheni on the book of Esther, an amazing line. Who told the king about the tree that Haman had built to hang Mordechai? A guy named Carvanha. Carvanha stands up, tells the king. Now, if you look at the words in Hebrew, you see that the word is teaches us that there's something additional here. Vigam. The word vigam also, it means there's something additional that's happening here that doesn't meet the eye. Doesn't meet the eye. What's happening here? So the Targum Sheni comes and he hits it out of the ballpark. He says, you know what's happening here? Carvanha, one of the officers, comes up to King Ahasherosh and says, you know what? He says, you know that the plan of Haman was not only to hang Mordechai, it was to hang you. You, the king of Ahasherosh. Say what? He's going to hang me? Oh, now I get it. Now, you know, he didn't go to the Supreme Court to get permission. He wasn't worried about anything. Oh, he's coming after me? He was going to hang me? We're going to hang him. Oh, not so great as we might have thought. By giving the green light to hang Haman, that will be the punishment for those that threaten the Jewish people. No, not so fast. Okay, now, Jews are allowed to defend themselves. They are allowed to not only defend themselves, but they're allowed to attack the enemy. Great. Did you ever worry? Did you ever wonder? One second. The king Ahasherosh gives the Jewish people permission to defend themselves. But there's only one problem, king, here, that the Jews, they don't know how to fight. Yeah? It's been 70 years. They don't know how to fight. They're subservient to the Persian kingdom. How exactly are they going to make out in this battle? Doesn't sound so promising to me. You know, you put a person into a ring with Mike Tyson. In fact, somebody once sent me something cute. It depends how you look at it. There were all these people that they were very haughty, and they were spectators, and they challenged professional boxers or fighters to fight them. They, in their haughtiness, these idiots believed that they were stronger, quicker, faster than these professional wrestlers or boxers. So they agreed to a match, and all of them were slaughtered in the ring, you can imagine. So, what in the world is going on here? Thank you very much, King Ahasherosh. You put us in the ring. You put us in the ring with Mike Tyson, you know, or Muhammad Ali. But Ahasherosh, don't you have an army? Yeah, remember the Persian Defense Force, PDF? Are you going to send some of the men? You have a whole army. You can help us out. We don't know how to fight. We're Jews. Jews don't know how to fight. It's been 70 years. Folks, if you count the amount of times that it says over and over again, it's so redundant. But this is the message. It says over and over again, the Jews prepared. The Jews fought. The King Ahasherosh gives the Jews permission. The Jews. It says it at least 10 times, if not more. Okay, we get the point. We get the point. Where's the army to protect us? We said the redundant words at the beginning of the story of Esther. He, in the days of the king Ahasherosh, he is Ahasherosh. He was Ahasherosh. What is this he was? He is Ahasherosh. It's redundant, right? And we said, it says in the Talmud that he was wicked from the beginning to the end. So let's look at the end of the story of Purim. Let's look at the end of the story of Purim. We have there, at the end of the story, we have taxes that King Ahasherosh places on all of the provinces that are subservient to him. What's going on over here? It says in the commentary on the book of Esther by Rav Zalman Sorotskin of blessed memory, page 83, in a book called Chut Shel Chesed, an amazing thing. Listen closely. Rav Sorotskin, I mean, this is like top spirituality here, how he came up with this tremendous idea. In the last chapter, chapter 10 of the book of Esther, we are told three important details, which he connects to be one. Number one, we are told about the taxes that were placed on all the provinces. Number two, we are told that Mordechai was a high official. He was the second in command in the government of King Ahasherosh, the Persian government, and he was appreciated by most Jews. Not all, but most. Now, the great Rav Sorotskin in his commentary, unbelievable how he throws it together. Listen to this. We know that there was a minority of the Jewish court that did not look, when Mordechai decided to continue in the government of Persia after the story of Purim, after the Jews have been saved, there was a certain minority of judges that did not look favorably towards Mordechai for doing this. They believed that it was time for Mordechai to get back to the Jewish schools, to the yeshivot, the Talmud academies. Get back to your learning. Get back to spirituality. We don't need you now anymore. That was a minority. But the majority of the judges believed that he was doing the right thing. Mordechai, at the end of the story of Purim, the Jewish people have been saved. The decree has been annulled. He says, he looks and he sees the evil King Ahasherosh. Nothing has changed. He's the same old guy. He's the same old wicked person. Look at what he's doing. He is taxing the Jewish people more, just like in the history of, if you look back in history, the Jewish people were always taxed higher than the average population. That's how it worked for 2,000 years of exile. The Jewish people, they were the ones that were taxed. So Mordechai looks with his Jewish glasses, not looking at the story, not looking at Ahasherosh through the glasses of the nations. And he sees what's happening. And he sees that the Jewish people are being levied all these heavy taxes. He sees that nothing has changed. He is still the same wicked guy from the beginning to the end. I ain't going anywhere. I know that my spirituality will be sacrificed. And it's true. If you look in two places in the Torah, Mordechai, before he got involved in politics, we'll call it, he was much higher up on the Richter scale, we'll call it, on the Richter scale of how, which number sage he was. He was, he was on the top 2 or 3. And then when he continued, when he came to politics, his ranking went way down. But he's willing because of his love of the Jewish people, to sacrifice his personal spiritual growth, and he's willing to sacrifice it all for the Jewish people. So he sees what's happening. Mordechai smells the coffee, baby, and he says, I ain't going anywhere. This decree could happen once again. Ahasherosh cannot be relied upon. He's still the same wicked guy. Nothing has changed. I'm not going anywhere. So that's why all these 3 points are in the last 2 or 3 verses of the story. Number 1, taxes. Number 2, Mordechai keeping his position. Number 3, understanding that because of the fact that he kept his position, there was a minority amount of judges that disliked this decision and looked down upon it. Okay, the next good guy, when we have our glasses on, the glasses of the nations, he's such a great guy. His name was Carvanha. Carvanha was the one that pointed out to the king Ahasherosh. He says, oh, look, outside the window, king. Here's the tree. You notice that tree over there? The last couple of weeks, probably wondering about this high tree. That was built by Haman to hang Mordechai. Oh, thank you very much. Well, this guy is great. Carvanha is a great guy. Or is he? Now let's put on our Jewish Torah glasses. Listen to this, folks. It says the name Carvanha twice. Once with a hey, spelled Carvanha with the letter hey, and once with an aleph. It's very unusual. That's to wake us up. There's something happened here. Something changed. From the first Carvanha, something changed. His name changed. What's going on over here? Folks, if we open up the tractate, of Megillah, and we look at page 16, side 1, an amazing point. This you only see with the Torah glasses, with the Jewish glasses. Who was Carvanha? You know who he was? He was a terrible guy. He was a bad guy. He was the one that suggested to Haman to build a tree and to hang Mordechai on it. Yeah, he's no nice guy. He's no Mr. Nice Guy at all. He was the one that suggested it to Haman. He gets the assist. So why is he changing colors? You know why is he changing colors? You know these kind of guys, folks, that you start talking to certain people and you say, where are you from? And they'll tell you, I'm from Cleveland. I don't know if people admit that. Some people don't. But let's say you got someone admits, I'm from Cleveland. Okay, who do you like in basketball? Oh, in basketball? I love the Golden State Warriors. But you're from Cleveland, the Cavaliers. He goes with the winners. He goes with the winners. Who do you like in football? Right? Cleveland Browns? Cleveland Browns, he says. I'm a big New England Pat fan. One of these TB12 fans. Folks, Carvanha is no sucker. He knows who's paying his salary. He knows where the wind's blowing, and he understands that the wind is blowing. Some days ago, the wind was blowing in favor of Haman, so he comes up to him. Carvanha comes up to Haman and says, hey, why don't you build a tree to hang Mordechai on it? But now things aren't going too well for Haman. Now the wind has changed direction. So this great soul, Carvanha, he's so great. Yeah, he's so great. He goes with the winners. He was the one that suggested to Haman to build that tree. But there's even more to it. It even gets better. at the end of the blessings of the reading the scrolls of Esther, we say, the last line is that we should remember Carvanha for the good. Also, Carvanha should be remembered for his good deed. Very interesting expression. He's also, okay, he's mentioned, he's remembered for the good. Remembered for the good. That expression sounds very familiar. Let us put on our Torah glasses, our Jewish glasses. That expression is found by none other, remembered for the good, by Elijah the prophet. Elijah the prophet is called, Elijah the prophet remembered for good. Very interesting. And that's why the name has been changed, because it was in Carvanha. The last Carvanha, when we changed the spelling of his name, that wasn't him. That wasn't that low-life Carvanha. This was Elijah the prophet taking over here. He comes in to save the day. And he's the one that points out to Ahasherosh, here is the tree that Haman had erected in order to hang Mordechai. Here it is. Amazing. This is written by our sages in the book Esther Rabbah, chapter 10, paragraph 9, or Portrayed Rabbi Eliezer, chapter 49. The Chida points out that the numerical value of Carvanha is 271. It equals the numerical value 271 of Eliyahu Pinchas. We know that Pinchas and Eliyahu are the same souls. So if you take the 10 letters of Eliyahu and Pinchas, those two names, and you do the numerical, how much each letter is worth, you come up also to 271. That is who saved. It was Elijah the prophet that came and saved. And that's why we say at the end of the blessings that also Carvanha should be remembered for the good, because we're talking about Elijah the prophet. Folks, we just finished the story. We went from the beginning of the scrolls to the end. And the final fat lady sings, because it ain't over till the fat lady sings, that some years later, the second king, Darius II, the son of Ahasherosh and Queen Esther, which makes him Jewish, the mother is Jewish, he allows us, King Darius allows us to go back to the land of Israel and to erect and to rebuild the second temple. However, there's a catch here. Listen to this. If you remember, about a month and a half ago, on the first Purim, on the 14th day of the first month of Adar, the Arabs broke in to the Gates of Mercy, which is on the eastern side of the Temple Mount. They broke in. Unbelievable. Tremendous divine providence. On the day of the first Purim, they break in to the area of the Gate of Mercy, and they begin work to set up another mosque. We're missing a few of them, and to set up their offices there. Where is this located? Where they set up home, where they set up house. This, according to most opinion, Jewish and also archaeological opinion, this gate is called the Gate of Shushan. Gate of Shushan, that's in Persia. Yeah, see, King Darius II, he told the Jewish people that, listen, we're going to allow you to rebuild the second temple. However, there are some conditions, there are some strings attached. And that is that when the Jews came into the Temple Mount, they came in from the east side. And everybody that walked in, the millions of Jews that walked in, they would see above them a picture engraved of the city in Persia called Shushan. I think today it's called Hamadiyah or something. And in the Talmud, in the tractate of Menachot, 98, side 1, asks, what's the deal here? Can you imagine? You walk in the Temple Mount and there's a picture on the wall, the major entrance in the Temple Mount, there's a picture of the smog of LA. Imagine that, smog of LA. I mean, like, what's going on over here? So there's two opinions in the Talmud, and they're both classic. Number one, the first opinion is, remember who brought you here. You know those people that give charity, but it's with the strings attached, you know, you have to have their names and lights, you know, flashing lights. Oh, it was donated by, yeah. Remember, it was a message to the Jewish people. You still are subservient to us. Keep your heads low, Jews. Remember, it was us. We gave the green light. You owe us a few. Payback day will come someday. Second opinion. It was put up engraved. The city of Shushan was engraved on the eastern gate of the Temple Mount. Why? So that the fear of the kingdom would always be with us. Big Brother is always looking out, looking at you. Amazing. They were afraid that if they gave a green light to build the temple, maybe the Jews would revolt. So remember, they put up, when you walked in, you would remember who's boss. Ain't the Jews, it's us, the Persians. The bottom line is, after Purim, it's time to sober up. Nothing has changed. How do they say in Israel? There's a funny expression in Israel. It's the sea is the same sea, and the Arabs are still the same Arabs. They want to throw us into that sea. Nothing changes really after Purim. We are still servants of King Ahasherosh. But let me tell you something, folks. The bottom line. When we end the story, it's not the end, because it ain't over. We say certain blessings. And if you ever look at the blessings, these blessings are based upon the tractate of Sofrim, chapter 14, law 6. It says there that after one has finished reading the story of Esther, you have to say a few statements. What do you have to say? You have to say the following. You have to say, cursed is Haman, and cursed is his wife Zeresh, blessed is Mordechai, and blessed is Esther, and blessed is Israel. If you notice, it's not even. We bless the males, and we curse the male, Haman and Mordechai. That works out well. And then we have the two wives. We have cursed is Zeresh, Haman's wife, and blessed is Esther. But on the Jewish line, it says blessed are the Jewish people, but it doesn't say anything. It's missing there. It doesn't say anything about the nations of the world. So there, we have to go a little bit further. Something's missing here. Because of the censorship, something is missing. And let's look to find the missing link. What is the missing link here? It should say something about the nations of the world. So if we opened up our Jewish law book called Torah, and we open it up to paragraph 690, law 16, and you could also open up, if you have an uncensored version of the Code of Jewish Law, same place, 690, 16 says something, okay? It says an additional line. This could be found today in many uncensored prayer books. And it says, under the line of blessed is the nation of Israel, it says, cursed is the nations of the world. Of course, when we say the nations of the world, we're talking about those that do not observe the 7 commandments of Noah. Let's get that one straight. So that's what it says. What's the idea? We have this guy David N. We'll call him the N-word. David N, because it's such a long last name. David N, the N-word. And not the P word, but this is the N word. So this David N, when he finishes the story of Esther, he has, he is still drunk. He has learned nothing. He is still the great King Ahasherosh, the message to the Christian Zionism to help us fight anti-Semitism. Stand together, party together. That's his take on what he just read, because he's there with the glasses of the nations. But when we finish the story, when we finish the actual book of Esther, we said that he was wicked. The king was wicked. In fact, I'm reminded in the book, holy book called Yismach Moshe, he says there that, what is it talking about? That who cares about the fact that the king, in the end of his days, he levied a tax against the provinces of Persia? Who cares? We do care. Why is it written? Because King Ahasherosh, that good guy, he came to the Jewish people and said, you owe me $12 billion. $12 billion? What's that? Yeah, he says, don't you remember? Number one, when I took Queen Esther as a queen, I gave a tremendous reduction to everybody for taxes. Number two, when Haman came and he offered me all this money, I refused to take the money. You owe me $12 billion. Start raising the money. When a Jew leaves the story of Esther, we understand who we're dealing with here. Nothing has changed. It's the same ocean. It's the same Arabs. It's the same King Ahasherosh. Wicked from the beginning to the end. Don't rely. Don't trust. Don't assimilate. But even the blessings, when we finish the book of Esther, we have a blessing to say. And the last line of the blessing, what you're supposed to leave with, what you leave the Megillah till next year, and hopefully your lifetime, is to understand that the nations of the world, those that do not observe the 7 commandments of Noah, those nations are cursed. And if they smile you today, tomorrow it will be payback. Stupid Jews, how the smile goes from ear to ear. President Trump has recognized the Golan Heights. President Trump has, as he says himself, has moved the embassy to Jerusalem. Well, let me tell you, I don't need your recognition. I'm not interested in your recognition. You could shove your recognition. I don't need it. I'm a Jew. I'm a proud Jew. I don't need you to recognize me. I recognize myself. I recognize the greatness of the Jewish people. But there's a price tag. There's a price tag. When King Ahasherosh, this is written by the Be'er Megillah, the book Be'er Megillah by Rav Yosef Amram on page 4. It says an amazing thing, that Ahasherosh was a businessman. He came up to the Jewish people and said, I saved you. It's payback time. I saved you. Now it's payback time. What? What do we have to do now? Taxes. How much? A few $100s? No, 12, 13 billion. It's payback time. Any kindness, King Solomon told us, the kindness of the nations, is a kindness that's a boomerang, because there's always a price tag. They're not doing it for the sake. There's always interest. Any good things that they do, it's only out of interest. If it's in their interest, they'll do it. And if it's not, not. If it's in their interest today to help Jews, they'll help Jews. But tomorrow, when it's not in their interest, they'll sell us down the river. That's what you leave. Our class, we said today, is called From Purim to Passover, Hangover to Sobering Up. What's the connection? We stand 3 weeks before Passover. The same lesson, folks. Sober up. It's time to sober up. The same lesson. It says that in the beginning of the book of Exodus, it said that a new king arose in Egypt. A new Pharaoh arose. And there are 3 opinions. Okay, and what that means. A first opinion, it's a dispute between Rav and Shmuel. First opinion was that it was really a new king. Second opinion was, no, it's the same old guy. However, he had new decrees. But there's a third opinion, and it's about time the Jews started learning this third opinion, because this, to me, seems the law. The third opinion is that there was the king of Egypt. He's not a new king, he was there. What happened? The Egyptians came and they were fearful of the Jews. They had seen that the Jews began to mingle. The Jews began to move into Egypt, to their apartments, to their cities. They began to become active in the stock market of Egypt, in the economy of Egypt. And they saw that they went to the theaters with them. And they were afraid. They were afraid that the Jews were multiplying. So they came up to Paro and said, listen, you have to place some decrees on them. You have to stop this. He said, what the hell are you talking about? Do you understand? The Jewish people in the times of Joseph, they saved our lives from the famine. We can't do this. It's immoral. They said, yeah, it's immoral? You're out of a job. Goodbye. Okay, I'm out of a job. No problem. So Pharaoh leaves his job. He was sure that they were going to call him back. A day goes by, a week goes by, a month goes by, 2 months, 3 months go by, and they haven't called him back. Right? Tremendous moral person. Person was willing to sacrifice his throne for the sake of the Jewish people. It's immoral. The Jewish people saved us. We cannot make decrees against them. 3 months later, he comes back. Hi guys, remember me? Pharaoh, I have grown a beard since then, you know. But it's me. I agree to all your terms. Great! That's what it means, that a new Pharaoh came on. It's not the new, it's the old. But the winds were changing. And therefore Pharaoh changed. But it gets worse, folks. A chapter and a half after that, it tells us that when Pharaoh died, the Jewish people cried out and were in pain. Cried out in pain? They should have been celebrating. Yeah, you know, ding dong, the wicked witch, witch oh witch, the wicked witch. Ding dong, the wicked witch is dead. What's going on? Why the Jews are lamenting? What is going on? Our sages tell us an amazing thing. They put on the Jewish classes, the Torah classes. Pharaoh never died. There are a certain amount of people that are considered to be dead because their life is hell. A poor person example is an example. No money, hell. It's as if he's dead. A person that's blind, considered to be a person that has no children, God forbid. And one person that has leprosy. And Pharaoh had leprosy. So he's alive and well. But he has leprosy. And he's going through hell. So advisors come up to him, his medical advisors, and say, you know what? We read on the medical journal edition, you know, whatever, year 2400 and 47. We read there that in order to cure your leprosy, you have to take 150 children in the morning and slaughter them and use their warm blood and bathe in it, and 150 children in the evening, in the afternoon, late afternoon, slaughter 150 more kids. So the same Pharaoh, got it? The same Pharaoh that left his job because he was a moral person. He was a moral Gentile. And he was not going to have any part of this. To decree against the Jewish people, it saved us? What kind of... That is terrible. So the same person, 3 months later, well, he's back. Winds are blowing differently. He comes back. And then, not only that, what does he do? He says, no problem. Every day bring me 300 Jewish kids. And this went on and on and on. 300 Jewish kids were slaughtered. And he bathed, no problem. I have no problem. This moral king was willing to leave his job, leave his finances, lose all that money. When push comes to shove, his real colors come out. That's Pharaoh. That's the lesson. Those are the lessons of Purim. Those are the lessons of Passover. Get out. We were drunk. We had a hangover. Okay. It's time to sober up. It's time to look in the mirror and to understand what world we live in. It's time to strengthen ourselves in Judaism, in Torah, in our belief in God, in our faith in God. Stop looking to the nations of the world. For thousands of years, they've let us down, and nothing is new. And the last but not least, sober up. How do we get into the Purim mess? This guy, the N-word, David N-word, and his organization, Center for Jewish Christian Understanding and Cooperation. How the hell did we get into the mess of Purim, where the Jews were slated to be annihilated, men, women, children? How did we get into this mess? The Torah tells us two things. Talmud tells us two things. Number one, we worshipped idols. That sounds familiar. Sounds a little bit like Christianity. Number two, we were mingling with the Gentiles. Mordechai came up to the Jewish people and he said, do not go to the party. King Ahasherosh had thrown a party for 7 days for the inhabitants of Shushan. And Mordechai said, do not go to the party. It will lead us, okay? It will lead us to disaster. And 18,500 people, the Talmud tells us, decided that they were going to go because they knew better. And they knew in their mind that Mordechai would destroy relations. Mordechai would burn the bridges. And we are the smart Jewish people. We will come to their party. We will celebrate with them. We will become one of them. We will not become isolated. We will become one. They will see how there are not many differences, how so many similarities between us. And this will save the Jewish people. And Mordechai said, no, that will destroy the Jewish people. And that's what happened. 18,500 people went to that party. And they messed up with immoral, immodest behavior. That's how we got there. And these jokers, they want to bring us right back. They want to bring us back to the Xgians, to the Christianity. They want to bring us back to the mingling, to the cooperation and joining forces and hand in hand. And they stood up. They will fight us. They will fight for us, for the anti-Semites. In the end of the day, the only people that will fight for the Jewish people are the Jewish people and the God of Israel.